You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Shannon Robinson.
Word. Hello, everyone.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
It's weird you saying my government name or whatever, because for the show I go by Rob or B.Rob, but
would you like to be called B.Rob?
No, you already said what you said, so that's what we're going with.
All right.
I mean, it's not like my name is secret or nothing like that.
At least you don't have like a nickname, like, you know, where you give that, hey, it's Jeff. And like, what's Jeff's real name? Oh, his real name is Albert. It's like, well, how the hell did you get Jeff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like that because it's B.Rob, because that's what they called me in the military, but I don't have the first name of the initial B or anything like that. And people be like, well, what the B stand for? Brandon, Byron, or whatever the hell? I was like, nah, it's black because I'm a black person. And that's
goodness.
And that's what they chose to call me at the time, because when I was in the military, there was two of us. We were both last name Robinson and we had the same rank. So when they would call us over the PA system, they'd be like, Lance Corporal Robinson, come to dispatch. So we would both show up and they'd be like, not you, the black one.
Oh, good God. That's like in school, they got two people named Tony, so they call the bigger one Fat Tony.
Yeah, so I was black, he was white. And at the time, there was a popular song by a rap artist by the name of Black Rob. And he had a hit song called like, Whoa. So all that happened around the same time. So I got coined B.Rob because I was black and because the song was popular by a rap artist named B.Rob.
Does it get awkward when you tell people the B stands for black?
Nah, it's just more like I'm used to it. It doesn't faze me or whatever, but because I've been knowing about it for so long. But when like people like you didn't know that. So when I like to hear the first reactions of when I tell people and whatnot.
You know, the funny thing with the last name Robinson, it's close to mine with Robertson, but do you know Fat Albert's original last name, his character?
What was it, Robinson?
It was the Robinsons.
Word.
Yeah, it was either the Robinsons or the Robertsons. It was one of those two, but I know there's plenty of stuff like that's a pretty common name. I know a lot of Robinsons, and there was a movie based on it, Meet the Robinsons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so what exactly do you do professionally?
Well, I'm retired, but I'm not retired. You know, I still got bills and kids to take care of. So I do security for certain federal installations.
Now, what types of security do you deal with? Just kind of monitoring systems? Like I've talked to people that do stuff with IT or they're...
no, nothing like cybersecurity. And I don't think I'm that smart, but no, it's just physical security and whatnot, just for buildings and everything.
What are the kind of some of those, like the biggest problems you face doing security? I know that happens to deal with like usually like I've talked to bouncers. I know the whole area around that, but like when it comes to security and confrontation, it seems like usually it's like you have to have a certain mentality when you go into it, which probably is the reason why you started into the military, having like a protective aspect to your personality.
Well, I don't know. Well, for me personally, the path that led me to the military is because I grew up around it. You know, my father was prior military. A lot of my brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces and nephews and whatever have you are prior military or have some affiliation with the military. So I grew up around it my whole life. I would go visit family members on different duty stations, and I would just, you know, see the life that they led. And, you know, it just kind of pointed me into that path when it was time to graduate high school and everything like that. So it was more of a tradition that kind of led me to it, because me personally, I mean, I'm not a confrontational person, but if an issue presents itself where it arises to where I have to act, you know, I'm not afraid to do so.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people, they don't know what they would do in a dangerous situation. You know, nobody was going to know what they're going to do in a fire. Nobody knows when a confrontation happens, we got that fight or flight response. You know, it's crazy to see what, you know, a lot of people really kind of talk the talk and really who can kind of show up and do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah. And then I kind of grew into that because as a kid, I mean, I didn't want to fight nobody. It just like something was inside of me to like it would lock my arms down. It would prevent me to not hurt anyone or whatnot. But as time went on and I done been through some shit, I was just like, I ain't afraid to put the fist up and throw down if I have to.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids nowadays, they really don't look at the fact that like they have this invincible aspect to them, thinking they can take on anyone, take on the world, they can fight anybody. And I'm like, you don't know if that person has a knife.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
yeah, with Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
guns.
like all these people that run around saying like, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I know how to fight, and they get all cocky at like a bar or something. I'm like, Brazilian jiu-jitsu doesn't count if someone pulls out a gun.
Yeah, you can't arm drag take down no bullets.
Yeah, like it's like you brought a knife to a gunfight. Like, and it's crazy to see how people can go from 0 to 10 that quick.
Yeah, and then you see this commonly displayed in social media to where you'll see somebody picking on somebody, just agitating them, pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And then the aggressor winds up being the victim because that person is just like, all right, you can push me to my boiling point and now I got to lay you down.
Yeah, it's the reason like a lot of people, they'll sit there and they won't look at a lot of the marks or whatever, some sly comments. Next thing you know, you're commenting on some comedian's Instagram, calling him fake and telling him he sucks. And then he just snaps and goes, okay, and then puts you on blast in front of everybody. His reach is bigger than yours. And next thing you know, you're the one getting picked on. You got people attacking you. And now you're like, oh, I regretted every decision.
Yeah, that's like those people that say bad things about Beyonce and her fans just like murder these people.
Who is talking shit about Beyonce?
Hey, it has happened. I just happened to scroll through the timeline one day and somebody just said something negative, towards Beyonce, and her fan base just ripped this person to the effect of just like they flashing this person's personal information on the internet because they made bad comments about Beyonce. I'm like, this is the life we live in now.
I said it's fascinating the way we see technology progress so far, that it's literally getting to the point that anybody that has any access to the internet or any device in general can immediately start talking shit on somebody, and then there's no repercussions behind it.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing behind it is like I'm 1,000 miles away and I can say whatever the hell you want because you ain't gonna come over here and do me shit or you can't find me or something like that. Is because I'm waiting for the day that I want to have a Jay and Silent Bob.
That's what I was just thinking of that. I was like, if anybody offered me $1 million and someone was like, you hear all the little voices like the kids on Xbox that are talking shit or doing something. I'm like, honestly, I would just spend my $1 million in travel just trying to get to their house and be like, did you say this? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, okay. Then throw the paper and grab them, throw them, start beating them up in the lawn.
Yeah, I need to see that new one too. The Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I want to watch that.
I think it's crazy to see where, the type of confidence you can get. And especially in situations like a lot of people think they're bigger and badder and they know more than a lot of people. Like I know it was a high rise of it when Bruce Lee movies came out, like all the kids that are getting the throwing knives and the stars and all these types of learning karate. I mean, everybody signed up for some type of taekwondo or something, thinking that they could be like them. And it's like, that's not true. That's a rare case. But there's always the one person, like the one person you want to be scared of is the one person that doesn't really seem like they're aggressive.
Yeah, and that's the way I portray myself. I don't tell nobody shit. I don't, flaunt anything. I was just like, but come test me if you want to.
Have you seen that popular video on YouTube? It came out a while ago where it was the guy talking shit to an old Vietnam veteran on a bus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the dude beat him and said, I need an ambulance. It was all it was all over Tosh.0, but I was like, you don't know who you're messing with. Like, see, that's crazy because you get to see any type of fight video that happens now. Like a lot of it happens on like subways and stuff. And it's like, you don't know that person that's sitting there silently just letting you sit there and call them names and stuff. He's going to hit his boiling point. He's going to hit the point where it's enough. You see it happen with kids where in the common like movie or something where the little nerd get picked on the whole time. And then finally, after like a couple months, he's like, I've had enough, and stands up, and either he wins or he loses. But you push people only so far thinking that they're never going to react. And then next thing you know, you get that reaction. You're not ready for it.
Yeah. And what kind of sucks about that as well is there's the extreme to it to when, you push them to that point, and then I feel like, overreact to the point of where we got school shootings and all kind of crazy shit like that.
Well, I think the most horrific things I see in the media nowadays is the fact that if you look up on like Facebook, you're seeing a kid get the shit beat out of them. And it's like nobody's stopping.
Yeah,
Nobody's like they're stomping on his head. That's
yeah,
that scares the shit out of me because like immediately what starts going through my mind is like he's going to develop some type of severe brain injury from this. Like, you know, you hear people that like there's that one video, the girl that got hit by the shovel.
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember watching fight videos in school. I was a victim of it too. You know, I was sitting there watching Sharkeisha freaking kick a girl in the face over and over again. It was funny as hell. But then I look at it now, like from a more mature perspective, and I'm like, this is insane. The fact that now people look for that. Like we had an event happen here in my town of Ocean City where we had all these people that's called H2OI week. And it was like a bunch of kids coming down in these riced out cars, like giant spoilers, really crappy. Like, you know, you see a bunch of Kias, Toyotas, all these little small, fast cars, and they just put boost and all these things in them, or they do a certain thing. They were putting blue tape all over their car saying like, fuck OCPD, which is our police department.
Yeah.
And they're all this stuff that they thought they were so badass for, you know, doing drifts and burnouts in the street. And we were in a state of emergency at one point because there was like rioting going on. And it's crazy to see because so many of them were not just fighting the cops, they were fighting their own people that they were with. Like they're just walking down the street with a video camera, like, burnout, bro. And the guy's like, I'm not doing it, man. I'm not getting that ticket that's like $800. He's like, you're a piece of shit. And then the dude just gets out of his car and goes across traffic without looking and just starts heading at this dude. I'm like, has this what we've came to?
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
And it's like you don't even see that just in young kids either. You start to see that in older people. Like recently, I was pumping gas in my car, and an old guy just gets out of the car and he goes, "Did you just hit my car?" And another old man's like, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Dude, I can see you just hit my car. Like, you know, I can see the damage. You know, it's right there." And the guy's like, "I didn't hit your car, man." He's like, "Dude, you hit my car." And the guy goes, "What are you going to do about it?" And I just start seeing two elderly people start getting each other's face. I'm like, somebody's having a heart attack first.
And that would be unfortunate.
And my mom was like, what's happening right now? I'm like, they got that old Vietnam confidence. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, you know, where they said, you can't kick my ass, I'll kick yours. I was in Vietnam when you were just floating around in your dad's nutsack. And my mom's like, there is that confidence out there. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. Everybody will pop shit until they get their ass whipped.
That's so true. I mean, what do you try? Like, because you host a podcast, you call it Random Ramblings with Rob. So, what exactly do you try and focus on?
Mostly it's just bringing in people that I find interesting or whatever, whether it be from the world of Twitter, fellow podcasters, and, you know, people that I meet on the street.
Have you ever tried
Basically.
looking at Reddit?
You know, I never really messed around on Reddit.
Honestly, if you're looking for random funny people on Twitter, if you go to Reddit, you're going to meet a whole new audience.
Word.
You're going to meet some people named Unicorn Fart 3 that want to talk up. Like Reddit will take you down some rabbit holes if you let it. And I swear it's the worst thing in the world. But you meet some creative people, then you meet just a bunch of shit throwers and everything you can possibly think of. Like that's a dangerous monster. But if you like the concept of just meeting interesting people, you'll find some interesting ones on there.
Word. I might have to take that into account. I mean, it's nothing new, but I just discovered TikTok and everything. You know, I know it's a very Vine-esque and everything, but I never really got into Vine until, you know, it was long gone. But yeah, I've been finding some crazy people on TikTok that I've been reaching out to try to get on the show as well.
There's a famous comedian. His name's Tom Segura and his wife, Christina P. And they host a podcast called Your Mom's House. And they watch TikTok videos. And I swear, dude, if you've just recently got into TikTok, some of the videos they post and they share, like it's a dude that tattooed the symbol of the juggalo, like the clown makeup onto his face.
Yeah.
And there's people that are like, because it's supposed to be like you're lip syncing something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that on there. I mean, it went from, I think, it used to be Musically, That's what it used to be. And then I think they either bought Musically or they rebranded themselves as TikTok. And now it's just more of what Vine used to be, plus the lip singing joints. And they got features on there to where you can react to other people's videos and you can do duet videos and all kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's cool if you're looking in the right parts to it, but it's just like the internet. If you scour enough, you'll find some dirty things on there. You know, if you like Reddit's one, I know TikTok's one. I mean, it's just crazy because you meet a whole new audience where you're like, how did you get to this point?
Yeah.
Like where did it go wrong? It seems like I know everybody's got a secret side to them, but it feels like it all gets released under the internet.
Yeah. Because, I mean, is that thing that we talked about is the veil of was it anonymous, being anonymous and whatnot. And it's just like, all right, some of the things that you say on the internet, you probably wouldn't have the balls to say to your parents to their face because, one, your parents didn't raise you like that and whatnot. And it's just like the internet makes everyone a celebrity. And a lot of the times you don't even really give a shit what nobody says on the motherfucking internet. So that's why you say what you say.
Dude, I try and stay away from the internet when it comes to posting something. Like if it's not something for the podcast or something, I just don't even bother dealing with it. I mean, so much stuff can be misinterpreted now. Like the fact that somebody can voice text you and you get a giant paragraph, you're reading it, and like all their words get jumbled up to which you get to the point where you think they're yelling at you. And you're like, what, you're telling me to go to the store and get you this? And they told your phone totally it can't sense your emotion. You know, back in the day when you had a flip phone and you had to hit that button 3 times, like if you crafted out a text doing that, that took hours. So when you sent that and someone saw that on their phone, they knew you fucking meant it. They were like, oh shit, I actually have to read this. Like nowadays, people barely read anything. They just look for quick symbols or something where they be like, okay, that's what you're talking about. And then send something right back. Like, did you read what I said?
Yeah. I get that with me and my wife. Like she'll send me something and be like, did you read what I said? And I kind of glance over it because I'm like, get to the point. I don't want to hear the whole story.
Exactly. You get 10 text messages before you can send one off. And it's like, well, shit. Like send me all of it at once, please. I have a friend that does that. He'll be like, text you one, like maybe 5 words and then text you again another 5 words and text you like 4 words and 3 words. And he'll add stuff and then he'll keep going. And like before I even get a chance to respond. So then when I finally respond, it's to the first thing he said. So then I'm trying to read his stuff and then he keeps sending more. And I'm like, oh my God, can you give me 2 seconds to let me get an answer out?
Yeah. It's weird.
It's a weird world we're living in. I mean, I like, so if you try and just focus on getting interesting people, do you just, is that just anyone's that particular pop into your mind?
Yeah, it's like I've had people on the show that we've shared maybe a brief Twitter exchange, and I was just like, we need to finish this conversation. Come on the show so we can finish talking. And, things like that. Or I'll see somebody doing something extremely awkward. Like I saw a lady trying to stick a whole giant dildo down her mouth while she was doing some other things. And I was just like, this person has something with them that we need to discuss. So
something mental. It's funny because the podcast I was telling you about, your mom's house podcast, they do this thing where they look at TikTok videos in the beginning and just look up weird videos, and then they grab like an imaginary wine glass, like it's fake. There's act like they're holding something. Like I smell notes of severe schizophrenia. I smell, and they just try and like jokingly diagnose the person. But like there was a video they had on there. And they actually lost their sponsorship with McDonald's. McDonald's paid them $1 million to have them to make sure they got a sponsor in there. And guess what happened? They played one video. McDonald's pulled it. Everything. They left. We're not involved in this. And I'm like, did you guys even look at the show? Like that's what their whole thing was, playing like fart videos. Like they had a video they played, King Ass Ripper, where the dude was just going around eating food and farting in white underwear to where it would turn brown.
Ugh.
Yeah, like crazy shit like that. And like that's what you'll see on the internet if you look enough. They had one, you talked about a girl shoving something down her throat. There was a dude that shoved a bike, like dismantled a bike, like the handlebars in the middle of the public. A homeless man just shoving it up his ass. And a woman just is videotaping it going, sir, what are you doing? Sir, what are you doing? And the guy's like, go away.
Yeah, that's I don't know if I want to find things like that. I look for weird in my standard, and that's like way over my.
Well, what do you consider weird? I mean, I think a lot of things that have to do with like sexual stuff's obviously weird, but I mean, out of the average ordinary thing.
I don't know. I frequent Walmart a lot, so I'm talking about like Walmart weird.
Walmart's the best place to kill time. At my local Walmart, we have this person they call Pinky. It's a giant black guy that wears all pink and like kind of like trans clothing,
Yeah.
but he wears a pink wig and he goes around like, "How y'all doing?" And I'm like, "Whoa, like this is a whole new world I've been enveloped in." And they call him Pinky. Like everybody knows him by Pinky.
Word. Pinky would be the type of person that I probably have on my show.
Do you think that you meet more strange people at Walmart than you can anywhere else? Because I feel like that's like where everybody goes. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It's like you've run into some crazy people there.
Well, this is the thing though. Like all the things that you see on the internet about Walmart and the different the website, the people of Walmart, all the crazy things that you see and hear about from Walmart. I never run into that, and I am in Walmart a lot, and it's to the point to where I go to Walmart just to try to find some of this stuff, and it's never happened to me. So that's why I have the hashtag not in my Walmart.
Hashtag not in my Walmart. That makes sense. I mean, I used to work at a Walmart for a brief amount of time. I did like the night shift. So you work till like 2 o'clock in the morning. You get in at like 4. Yeah, it was a pain in the ass, but there was this dude that was he was over in Vietnam and then he got discharged for I think he got in a severe like blow up incident. I don't know the whole specifics on it, but he would take this medication and he knew he wasn't supposed to drink. But you could tell every time you get that, you get like a 15-minute break in the beginning and then you get like an hour for lunch and then you get a 15-minute break again at the end. So
Mhm.
I remember the last like at the end we get a 15-minute break at like 11:30 or something, so everybody would go outside. He would come back inside and smell straight like Listerine. I'm like, whoa! And like he just went out, he just went and drank, came right back in. I'm like, you're not supposed to be drinking on your medication. So about an hour later, all you would hear, like I'd be in aisle 26 stocking something. He'd be in aisle 4 and he just goes, "Baby," like really super fucking loud. And it's an empty ass Walmart. There's only a few shoppers in there. Then you just hear everybody who's in one of the aisles that works there just start going, "Baby," like back and forth. It was echoing through. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. Once again, not in my Walmart. I never run across anything like that.
You ever just try and go to another Walmart to find something like that?
Oh man, I moved. I retired here in Houston, Texas, and I think before I had a job, like I was just freshly retired, and I just was taking a break before I went back to work and everything, and probably for a couple of months because what I didn't. I think I took 8 months off, almost a year before I went back to working again. So within that 8 months, I drove all over Houston to different Walmarts just to say that I've been to that Walmart in this particular area. I haven't covered all of Houston yet because Houston is big as shit. But now I've been to quite a few places and I have never ever ran into anything like that. I seen some peculiar things to where like depending on the area would dictate the type of Walmart that experience that you would get. So like if it was a more rough area and whatnot, you get more homeless people on the outside, turned over shopping carts, different sections of the inside of the Walmart that's missing from the other sections of the other Walmarts you've been to. And you see somewhat of interesting characters, but not to the extent of what I seen on the internet.
I mean, that makes sense. The area really kind of reflects into the Walmart in a way. It's like a looking glass, I guess you would say. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times when I go into my Walmart, I'm like, where are all the fucking shopping carts, like the good ones? And
Yeah.
it's like they're all either out in the parking lot or some homeless dude is pushing them down the street. I'm like, damn, like he just got a nice ass shopping cart. Like it's it's insane because I think what really bugs me is like every time I go into Walmart, everybody's on their cell phone, so nobody's actually paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing. Like you go into a grocery store to shop, you go to get your necessities and get out. That trip to Walmart takes a hell of a lot longer when you're on your phone. That 30 minutes or whatever turns into like an hour and a half. Then you just start buying shit you don't need. But then you see like kids my age that'll hop onto one of those scooters even though they don't need it and start
Yeah.
driving it around. And then they leave it out in the parking lot. I'm like, even if I see a handicapped person leave it out in the parking lot, I'm like, man, how did you walk in the first place to go get the scooter?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves of the Walmart. It's just like I see an able-bodied person riding around in them scooters.
You want to break their legs.
Well, I don't want to do all that, but and then another thing that irks my nerves or whatever is damn the grown ass kids inside the carts or whatever. I ain't talking about like adult kids, but you know what I mean. I've ran across that as well, but damn kids that are too big to be in the carts. I don't like that. Damn.
Yeah, like you see a 30-year-old in a cart and you're like, why are you doing that?
And then I don't have too many qualms with that because I'm just like, man, they living their life, they're having fun. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I
can't get mad
remember
at that.
I remember when I was like 16, 17, and we get those giant platforms, like the ones you
Yeah,
got to pull, like you would get plants and put it on. And I would
yeah,
stand on that and my buddy would push it and surf, but I was always respectful. Like I only did it when like 1 o'clock in the morning when no one's there.
yeah,
It's crazy because like I don't know. I didn't like Walmart a whole lot. I don't like the corporate aspect of everything. The management kind of runs a little bit crappy. And it seems like they always kind of hate their lives in a way. And I mean, I understood it because I worked there for it. But you do come across a hell of a lot of people. I feel like every time I go in there, I have a buddy that still works there. And he just tells me all these stories about all these people that he meets. And I'm like, man, I can't believe these are people that are in my town. You wouldn't think it'd be in your town.
yeah. Right. Yeah. It takes all kinds to come to Walmart, I guess.
So, so if you don't mind me asking, what exactly happened that you left the military?
um, I joined in 2000, so pretty much the bulk of my career, I was in 16 years. The bulk of my career was in service after 9/11. So I came in 2000, 9/11 happened. And then from that point on, for at least 12 to 13 years of my 16-year career, I was doing stuff in service of that. So going to Afghanistan, going to Iraq, just wartime shit the whole time that I was in. And the military changed as far as my experience with it from the first day joining all the way up until, the last couple of years to where all I knew was that deployment lifestyle and, being ready to leave at a moment's notice and all this other stuff. And to when the time came to where we weren't going over there anymore, everything started slowing down. That's when a lot of things really started to change again. You started seeing it changed in the aspect to where like we're not in this mind frame anymore. So now we gotta focus on petty shit.
What types
So
of petty shit? Like just, you
so
know,
like things that we wouldn't really worry about before because we were doing this particular thing, like deploying and doing all these training evolutions and everything. A lot of things got glossed over, and now that all that was over, those things are starting to come back around. And I mean, small things in the sense of like, let's see, I'm trying to find a good example. Um, you have Marines there that would be borderline overweight or whatever, but that Marine is damn good at his job. He did so much or whatever, but when wartime was over, he was looking a little more overweight than what he should be. And, I've seen people get put out because of that. But you had them in the whole time when you needed them, but now you don't need them so much anymore. And, it's a problem. And now you got to get the hell out.
yeah, they don't take the time to help them too. I think there's
Yeah.
a big disservice done when military people leave after like they get discharged or something because they suffer from a severe accident and they're crippled for like the rest of their lives. I mean,
Yeah.
how many of the veterans and all these people that fought in our service, they don't have help when they get back with PTSD. And if
Mm-hmm.
they do have help, it's so very little. It's like the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the system is broken, but in that same aspects, I mean, it also depends on the person and also depends on the people surrounding that person. Because I know people that have issues or whatever, and they're fine and they're taken care of. And then you have the other side of it to where you got people on the street and everything, and there's no support system around them. So
I think
it's crazy.
I think it's hard to understand the concept of, military in general based on what we kind of show on TV and movies. I mean, if you've ever seen Lone Survivor, if you've ever seen American
Mhm.
Sniper, those movies are giant propaganda acts. Those are
Mm.
literally after you watch it. If you watch it in the theater, I watched Lone Survivor in theater. Afterwards, I immediately wanted to go to my nearest recruiter. Like I was like, let's
Mhm.
fucking do this. Like I'm gonna, save people. I'm gonna do all this shit. And it's like, but you don't understand that it's a giant toll on your mind. Like I know that's what a lot of mothers are always worried about their kid going off to war, thinking they're gonna get their arm and leg blown off, but that's a real possibility.
Yeah, it is. And then that like Lone Survivor, that was like a group of a sniper team or whatever. But like you just don't join the military and they're like, all right, you're a sniper now, and that's what you go do. I mean, you have to get selected for that. You have to have a certain score for that. You have to be the top of this before you can even get considered to be in a elite squad like that or whatever. It's not like you just walk up to your recruit, I want to be a sniper, and they sign you up and you go be a sniper and shit.
Of
you know?
course. It's the sad fact is though, when you watch a Hollywood movie, they don't show you that all that exclusive and extensive training. They
Mm-mm.
only show you a brief like tidbits of it, like a good 5 or 10 minutes of it to kind of introduce you to what's going on. Then they just show you in war doing all these crazy things that, a lot of kids
Yeah,
don't really understand the full capabilities to. The
yeah,
same reason why any kid that plays Call of Duty or some type of shooting game, they immediately think they could shoot a gun in real life. They immediately think they could do these types of things. Let me tell you something. I had that mentality when I was 14 years old when I was playing Call of Duty a lot. Then I shot my first gun and I was humbled because I was like, fuck,
yeah.
this is not what you would think it would be. It's something where you have to have respect for what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot people give a lot of shit to um, like everyone always says, oh, you're in the service. Oh, thank you for serving our country. But a lot of people don't look at the military with the glorified respect anymore because I do think it is a little bit of the way we take it. Everyone gets all their opinions and stuff from politics and all this stuff that they see on
Yeah.
media. And honestly, it's just a bunch of people trying to serve their country and protect the people they love back home. There's nothing more to that. But
Mhm.
you consider them having this loyalty to a corrupted system when really they're only part of the system, but they don't want any of that corruption. They want to be
Yeah.
pure. They want to be these people that are trying to help in times of need.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like the whole institution of the thing and whatnot. I mean, you do serve your country. That's what you sign up to do and whatnot. But like when you're on the inside, it's just like it's an exclusive club almost. I mean, everything on the inside is no different from what's going on the outside. So, like Burger King, for instance, you have a job, you wear a uniform, you have a schedule, you have a task at your level, and then if complete and surpass all your duties and everything, you can have the opportunity to go up. You can get promoted. I mean, it's the same thing with the military, and every job on the inside you can pretty much do on the outside, except for some of the specific things dealing with weapons and whatnot. But then again, you could probably find yourself in a job manufacturing those same weapons that you were trained to use. So I mean, it's all transferable and everything, but it's just like you go to the IRS, I mean, not IRS, H&R Block and get your taxes done every year. There's a specific job in the military for people that do taxes every year. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
If you work in a warehouse doing logistics or something like logistics, where you're sitting there tasking down and finding out how
mhm,
much you have in your inventory, that's a beneficial skill too. You
mhm,
have to kind of buy a tank once you own a tank, but you can also use a bit of that skill, become a car mechanic.
mhm,
You use a little bit of what they give you. It definitely is a good training way too. And I definitely think if you don't know what you're doing and you feel like that is something you might want to look into, that's definitely something like it is a benefit. They do help career wise when it comes to the education. It does teach you reusable skills,
yeah,
but it's just a scary concept because it feels like on a world that is so tense that the threat of war could happen at any moment, and then next thing you know, people are getting shipped off, and we have the whole reoccurrence from what happened back in the day,
yeah,
and it's a scary concept.
I know. And because for me, like I said, I grew up in a military family, and I've been to where my brothers and sisters and brother-in-laws been stationed, and I observed them living the everyday life. They just happen to put on a military uniform every day. So when it came to me making that decision, I was like, oh man, this is cool. They're gonna give me a free house to live in. They're gonna pay me. I do my job every day. I come home, be with my kids and family. You know, what's not to like about that?
But then
But
once
then
you leave,
9/11, then shit like 9/11 happened.
now how
And
old
then,
were you when 9/11 happened?
so let's see, 2000, 2001, I was 19 years old.
So how impacted was that in your mind? Because you're talking to a person that was only a kid at the time and didn't really understand. I just remember my mom picking me up from school, like immediately, like didn't wait, didn't do anything. Once she heard it, I was picked up from school and I was like, what's going on? Next thing you know, she's on the phone freaking out. And all I can really remember is just sitting at home, not really paying attention to anything, just playing with my toys and stuff. So give me your perspective of that incident.
Well, shit. So I was 19, so I already been in just about a year into my military service. And I was at work that day that everything went down. I can remember specifically being up under a truck because I'm transportation, at the time. And, we didn't have too much to do. So we was out there doing busy work. I do air quotes. So I'm laying up under the truck pretending to fix some shit. And as I look over at one of my homeboys, laying up under the truck with his arm wedged in between the pipes, holding a wrench, so it looked like he's like he's doing some work and he's asleep. And then they start calling us over the PA system and everything. They was telling us to get in formation and whatnot, and everybody running up there to the front. And our platoon sergeant was just letting us know what happened. Somebody flew planes into the Twin Towers and shit. And I was just like, okay, what the hell?
Like, were you so shocked you had no idea, like, or did you think they were immediately going to start deploying you somewhere?
Yeah, like for me personally, I thought I was going to die. I thought this was going to be, like, I lived to be 19 years old. I'm about to go over to this other country and get shot at and shoot at people. And I'm probably going to die. So
did you immediately want to call some family members?
Well, I was married, so I was married. I already had one kid because as soon as I graduated, I knocked up a girl. And then
on purpose or on accident?
Kind of both.
Okay.
It was in the moment. I was like, have my baby. And that's how it happened.
It was an unplanned planage. I got you.
Yeah. So, had the kid, we got married and everything. And we were living together in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where, I was when this incident happened. So I called her up, we freaking out or whatever. And I told her, I was like, at the time I had a kid already. She was 1 and she was a girl. And I was like, I think I might die. I don't know if I'm coming home again. I would like to have a son before I leave. So I got her knocked up again, the same girl. And throughout the whole pregnancy or whatever, we were doing workups in anticipation to go over to Iraq to fuck shit up. So she being pregnant, me going off to do training here and there in California, all over the place, and not being there for that pregnancy.
And you had to sit there. You had to hope that it was a guy, first of all, or you just gave her another chick, and next thing you know, you would have had to come back.
Yeah. And then, it was much so of a repeat to what happened with the first pregnancy. I knocked her up. Then I joined the military. And then I was going doing training and boot camp and all this other stuff. So I missed that pregnancy. I missed that birth. And it was the same thing with this one. I knocked her up. I went off to do all this training and get ready to deploy. But with this one, my son, I got to be there for the birth. And I got to spend 12 days with my son. And then I was on the plane going to Iraq.
I bet you cherished every one of those moments.
Yeah, it was crazy. Now he in there playing video games, being a little asshole.
He doesn't understand. How old is your son, by the way?
But he's 16 now.
It's crazy because I think like once you start getting older, you start wanting to cherish the more moments with your family. I mean, we live in a world, where technology is so advanced that it now captivates most of the young kids' minds. I mean, I know I say young kids and I'm still, I'm 21, but it's all the concept of like, I play games and stuff when honestly, I barely play them anymore, at least not addicted to how I used to be as a kid. Once you have a car, once you have these types of things, you're able to do a lot more. And then eventually that gets old. And then you really kind of wonder all the times with your family, the moments that are only here for a short, brief time. That game can always be there. And it's when you truly start to take grasp of stuff, when you start becoming older, or when you're facing a serious situation. I mean, when you're on your plane to Iraq, I mean, the thoughts going through your head were probably like, I'm probably never going to see my family again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was more of the Band-Aid thing. It was just like, oh shit, I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving. This is gonna be sad, they're gonna be crying and shit or whatever. But once I was on the plane and I was gone to do work, you know, the Band-Aid was off. I got through the little sad, sensitive parts or whatever, and then like I was focused. I was just like I was ready to go hit the ground and do work. And that's just what it was for me. I mean, it didn't make it any less challenging, that the fact that I had to leave my family or whatever. But once I got to the mission and I knew what I had to do, it made it a lot easier.
It gave you a task to complete until you can get back home.
Exactly.
You see stuff like if you watch from movies, you watch Forrest Gump, and like someone that was completely kind of oblivious to what was going on around, just kind of there doing what he thought, he was basically being told what to do. Like I've talked to people from that like live in Australia that are motivational speakers that, one guy was telling about how he developed PTSD on the plane ride home. And I was like, how do you develop PTSD on the plane ride home? And he goes, I had cluster headaches, man. And I'm like, okay. And like, they didn't know what that was in the military at the time. So he thought he was just getting sent home for a headache.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that knows what cluster headaches are, that you get 8 or like, they're so severe, but you can get like 6 or 8 of them a day. And they feel like someone's taking a knife to your brain.
Yeah.
And at the time, they didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because when he developed PTSD was because he looked over thinking that he's just getting sent home because of headaches. And he sees his buddy that arrived with him with his legs completely blown off. And he was just looking at him like, I'm a piece of shit because this guy has a legitimate reason to go home. And it developed a little bit of PTSD when he got home because he felt like he gave up on his country. And like, then they later found out, that kind of settled his, anxiety from it and everything, that, it's this actual severe headache disorder that you can get. And it changed everything. But I definitely think that if any of our tax dollars, anything, should definitely be more incorporating these people that go and decide to serve for our country and fight for the people that live here, because a lot of the times, like, they just don't get a lot of help. There are some cases, obviously, but it seems like there's a lot more people that are homeless that are just not being able to adjust back in society because they throw you back home or something after you're treated and well on your way and give you money and stuff. But what about all like the emotional turmoil that they have? You know what I mean? A lot of people just can't settle back into position.
Yeah. And that's why you kind of have a lot of homeless people, whatever, because it's just like that's something they can manage with and cope with or whatever. I mean, the everyday rigors of life, I sometimes I sit here and I stress about, paying bills and doing all this stuff. And some people can't handle that. So they just rather be, in that situation where they don't have that much responsibility. They're only worried about themselves and whatever. And they just kind of roll with that.
To create humor out of kind of like a dark concept, though, like I wonder what PTSD that guy had that was shoving a bike up his ass.
I don't know, anal trauma or whatever. Every time he took a poop, you can imagine that bike handle going up his butt, and he's like,
Like a bell comes out when he's going to the bathroom. There's part of the bike. I'm still missing the other half, though. Where's the grips?
Yep.
I think this world's a little bit strange, man. I think our system, everything like that, there's a lot of things that tend to be a little bit negative, but I think the popularity in it all is like the weird and kind of strange things that you notice in people, because sometimes they're the most interesting. When someone has a strange quirk about them that's deemed by society's normal standards as strange, really could be something interesting that could lead to a conversation that can, open up your at least mind to their perspective. I think staying open-minded is a good concept. I mean, there are a lot of people look at this world saying it's a piece of shit and it just sucks and it's always this like terrible thing. And I'm like, that's just the surface, the ones that we all are choosing to ignore each other, when really the beautiful thing is not even that far down. It's just right under that layer.
Yeah. And you know, that's kind of why I just pick random people to talk to, because like I've I know my mentality, I know my mindset and how I am and how I view things or whatever, but I want to get other people's viewpoints and how they see things and their perspectives and whatnot. So, you know, that's why I just talk to people.
Hey, man, I can't blame you for that. I'm practically doing the same thing. I appreciate you taking the time to even do the podcast. I mean, I just slid into
Yeah.
your DMs and you were like, yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah. I'm always down the pod, man.
Well, hey, man, I want to give you here a minute at the end to kind of promote your content.
Word. Okay. We doing that right now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, you've heard my voice. This your boy B.Rob, host of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast. You can find me on Twitter at 3R Show. You can find me on Facebook by searching the Random Rambles with Rob or doing facebook.com/3R Show. You can find me on Instagram using the hashtag 3R Show. I will give you the whole thing, but it's like long and convoluted and everything. And somebody already has at 3R Show on Instagram, and it pisses me off because they haven't posted since 2015 or something like that.
You got to contact Instagram.
I tried. They don't listen to me. But hashtag 3R Show on Instagram and hashtag Walmart Log, where you can see me walking around Walmart looking for strange people that never pop up. And last but not least, you can go to randomrobcast.com to where you can see the guest list for every guest that has ever been on the show and many different ways that you can support the podcast. And the best way that you can support my podcast and this podcast and any other podcast that you listen to is get on there on your freaking podcast and app of choice and write a review. 5 stars preferably. But if you got any constructive criticism, go ahead and put that down in there so I can have the opportunity to ignore you.
All right. Now that you brought this up, I got to ask, what's your most memorable guest?
Michael Jai White.
Okay. What's his story?
Oh, that's he's a famous martial artist, actor, known for his role in as a Black Dynamite.
Oh shit! No way.
Yeah, so I had him on the show, and he's like one of my favorite martial artists ever. And I had the opportunity to talk with him. I forget what the episode number is, but it's labeled Michael Jai White. So I mean, it was great to talk with him, and we even had like the pre-show conversation to where like I was thanking him for being on there, and I was like, I never thought I would have the opportunity to be on the other side of the microphone talking with you. He's like, well, I mean, you're just starting, so you could have got somebody more famous than me, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's crazy because what's your worst experience?
I don't think I've ever had one. It's just
you ever had a really bad encounter?
Well, I'll say less favorable. It was 2 times that I can point to, but it wasn't like bad. I wouldn't consider those bad. It was just like, all right, it was one of those interviews. I mean, if you've done enough, you probably know what I'm talking about. Oh, so I mean, what do you think about this?
And they give you that one word answer.
Exactly.
And then you have to keep asking, like you feel like you're pulling out teeth. Trust me, I've talked to hundreds of people and I've come across those.
Mm-hmm. So it was an instance like that. And then there was another instance to where I was talking to somebody and they were extremely high. And it just like it wasn't jiving or whatever. And I've talked to them, you know, a couple times previous and we had good time or whatever, but just this time they were kind of out of it, so it didn't jive too well. And
I think
that was about it.
Some podcast etiquette for a lot of people out there is like, if you're going to be in a conversation with someone, and it's not just with podcasts, it's also with your everyday life, like don't be doing shit in the background. I don't know how many times like that does kind of grind my gears a little bit. Like I'll set all the time to do one of these and then somebody's like doing dishes in the background. I'm like, bro, we literally discussed you have an hour or so to talk. Like, let's just talk. And they're just like, hold on, I'm just cleaning off this plate. The next thing you know, they're doing something off in the background, like they're half paying attention. And you just start throwing in questions and stuff. And they're like, wait, what'd you say? And
oh yeah, I got a homeboy that I have on quite often or whatever. And every now and then, wait, hold on, I gotta find something. All right, here we go. Every time we sitting there talking or whatever, like I'm making a point or whatever, all you hear is,
oh my God.
I was like, dude, is you eating again?
How many snacks? Like, it's like when you go to the movie theaters and there's someone that opens up a bag of Sun Chips, like the loudest fucking bag you can ever have that to chew chips out of. It's just sitting there crinkling and everything. You're like, bro, how many times is this going to happen?
I'm getting over a cold right now, and so I've been, using cough drops and everything. And those bags are the loudest bags I've ever heard in my life.
Try opening up one of those like in a opera or something where it's supposed to be silent. You're sitting there trying to get a cough drop out, like
Well, yeah,
slowly but surely.
that's kind of what happened because my wife was trying to get some sleep before she went to work, and I had to go in there and get the cough drop at the thing, and it was like, I'm sorry.
Shit. Like then you try and go slower thinking it's going to be less loud and it just makes it last longer. And then finally they just go, open up the damn cough drop.
Yeah. I try to pick up the bag and like not rustle it as much and take it out of the room and get the cough drop out.
Man, I tell you, I really appreciate you doing the podcast, Rob. It's been awesome having you on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I mean, that's what I'm here for. We fellow podcasters. So anytime, you get in a bind, you need a guest or somebody, if I got the time available, I'm here for you.
Well, thank you so much, man. And thank you for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank. And stay tuned for our next episode.